Okay, so time to introduce the last speaker. Okay. I thought I'll have an easy job being the last one, you know. Not focused. So when I was thinking about the presentation this year, I was mainly looking at giving a review of what Kamailio can do about protecting your service. As you know, already it's a framework. So here it's about the bits you can combine to secure your platform, to have your customers and your business being safety. So I guess we like both of them to be happy, because if you don't have customer, you don't have business. So practically, it's all about the same thing. So attackers, of course, they look on all the nodes of your network, of your service, and we know not long time ago, and I think we had a presentation last year when some CPEs were vulnerable, and it was a lot of fraud done in Germany, special for that vulnerability, when anyone could call connecting to your home router, and then that was looking from the core platform as a legitimate call, so nothing really suspicious. So the goal, at least from the Kamailio point of view, is to protect as much as possible from the core network, because it's where we sit. We pray that the CPEs are also well developed, and they will get security updates, but you know, they are mainly in the hands of like my mother or father, where they don't really have any technical knowledge, and that's make it harder. So it's sometimes not only, you know, just looking, testing, and you're sure that nothing has happened. Even the normal traffic could be an attacker at some point once the CPE is compromised. And as the other speakers on security during this event, so it's a 24/7 duty. It's not something like, okay, I run this, it's stable, I'm sure it's not gonna get hacked. So the idea is you cannot really ban the hackers, but the important is to limit the damage and detect it as soon as possible, and protect as much as possible to restrict the area of from where you could be attacked. So it's important to be able to adjust the rules as needed. It's like you buy a box and then you say, I have it, now I'm secure because this is it. I put it here, I wire incoming calls, I put the unsafe equipment behind it. No, it's not like that. And it's even harder when you do it like that, because if it's something discovered and compromised in a black box, then practically you cannot fix it quickly. If you work with open source, maybe you find a weak configuration parameter, but you can change it immediately. You can ask support for how to restrict and change yourself. There's no need to go to like a big company and wait for a firmware update, which might bring other issues in the future. Monitoring and alerting, it's also important, and thanks to Homer, and also we could see Packetbit might have something in the future that could give you some indication that things are not looking as usual and might need to be double-checked by some either artificial or human intelligence for a better understanding what happens in the network. So it's always good to consider, like everyone out there, it's not a friend, is not a friendly scanner as they pretend to be, and we could see it here. So monitoring, detecting, and blocking high traffic or volume from the same source address, especially if you deal with residential users where you know there is only one phone there should not be any problem. So if that equipment gets compromised, they cannot really do a lot of calls at the same time and a lot of other, let's say, expensive operation. Monitor and detect many failed authentication. So this is when they try to discover the password. So something is wrong. Maybe you mistype the password when you switch to a new device, but that should not happen too often and too many times. A human cannot try a new password in a few seconds. It takes a lot. So just keeping an eye on how these are going, it's very important. Allow traffic only from your customer regions. So, you know, there are providers working with fixed telephony, and you know that you don't have the service that they can use an application, and you are in Germany, it's better that you restrict the traffic from that one. There are cases and cases like that's an extra layer of protection. So we talk here about layers and layers. Alert block or two-factor authentication for the calls to expensive destination. Like two-factor authentication could be used like dial something with a prefix before if you just want to use Kamailio, or you detect it's a call to, I don't know, a satellite phone. You can route it via asterisk, and there you ask for an extra PIN. Looks like a call that's expensive. Could you enter your personal PIN, which is not actually in the device? So it would be like an extra something that you give to your customer with a contract. So you can use it either as prefix when dialing, or add something more interactive as an IVR with asterisk and other applications. Alert and limit on number of active calls, more or less the same. It's a device there to the customer premises. Is physically you would not be able to do more than one call, then don't allow more than that, and we have means for doing that. Also, the limit on the duration for active calls, it's important. Of course, if it's a call in Germany in the same country, it doesn't really cost much, so they can talk for hours. But if you see that a call to whatsoever, and typically there are premium numbers that they just play some IVR, you know, and it's more for fraud, they keep going forever and then actually squeeze a lot of money from you. Nobody's gonna call expensive destination and stay there for really long, apart maybe of some special situation, you know, connecting remote mining or oil plants. Also, it's good to integrate with a charging, a billing engine, and keep an eye on the cost, put some limits, so at least if it's getting compromised, will be in something that you can afford and help customer, because if the customer will have to pay a lot of money, maybe he'll pay to you, but then it's going to be gone from you. He's not going to be your customer anymore. So trying to compensate by putting some alerts on how much that customer has to pay, it's also important. Checking and allow strong passwords, it's also really important. You know, everyone is going with 101, especially when testing, and by habits, some people are using it also in production. That's really bad, and then they come to you. It was very easy to hack me. You didn't detect it well. It was like first guess, right? So that's hard to detect if it's not trying too many times. And I put it the last, but I think this is really important. Enable TLS, maybe not with client certificates, but at least have server certificates, self-sign. You don't need to pay for them. You can auto-provision on the customer premises equipment to accept it, and then it's encrypted. And it's harder for the attackers to guess like your numbering plan and user IDs, and practically harder to get into your system. There are, of course, other little bits that you can do. In SIP, you can make calls without registration. If you know that are residential users, it must be registered, and the call should come or must come from the same IP as the registration. So if someone detected the password and you have a registration from the home of that user, will not be able to really do another call from another IP unless it registers again. And you put a couple of barriers that will make the work of the attacker harder. Invite with two tag must match an existing dialog. Couple of products I have seen there, if you send like a re-invite and they don't have the dialog, actually they create a dialog with that tag, and that's not normal. So you can do that protection from Kamailio as well. Limiting the number of registration, it's again helping when you know it's only one device for that user. Customers should stay with one registration. We have this option like, okay, update the last one or limit to the existing one. And restrict the capabilities when subscriber is not in home country, coming like back to the slide, allow from some region, but now we relax it for the rest of the world. Like you are outside of German IP range, then you can call in Germany, you can really call Nigeria or whatever, it's expensive. Also, you can put the rules based on time frames. It's a business customer after 6 p.m., they are closed, should not be much traffic, so you put lower limits on that. So a couple of examples how you can do all this with Kamailio. Again, you have to put together all these bits, and it's not complex. So block calls to destination by prefix. So you know that calls into some countries are expensive. Blocking sometimes is not maybe taken literally. You could just alert, and then you keep an eye on, see how the evolution is going with that. So put a red line. As I like the configuration file, at least Luis did it as well. I have here some example just to show it's not anything complex. So in the right side, it's actually what you could create into the database and using M3. M3, it's more like a generic caching engine using tree structure to store in memory, very fast in matching, longest prefix matching. The value actually doesn't matter. It's about the prefix. If you have a match, you can really block it. Of course, you can have other checking at the beginning, but before relaying the initial invite, you have a match on this table. Again, this is cached. It's in memory, but of course, you'll like to have persistent. And then if you have a match, so here we block UK and Germany because myself and James don't like to get calls anymore. And it's that simple. Of course, some parameters to connect to the database and things like that. Then I spoke about blocking based on source IP address. We have actually at this moment 2 GeoIP modules because they changed the library. However, the old one is still available in the classic Debian and CentOS, so you cannot combine both of them. We had 2 modules. But then you can get the range of IP addresses, and you could put it into permission, or you can use SQL Ops and things like that. So this would be the example, quite simple, the path where you have to the GeoIP database. You can download it from the internet. A free version doesn't give that much accuracy, but country level it's there. And then again, in the routing block, before relaying, make sure it's coming from the country you like to, or in this case, actually, we block again. If it's from the or UK, we block the call. So the previous example, when dialing, here it's when calling from there. Of course, you can use negation, or you match on country and deny it. Blocking addresses due to high traffic rate. Again, sometimes might be harder to detect its attack, or could be even broken CPE is starting sending a lot of requests out of the blue. It happened to us. But at the end, it's about the risk, so you better risk and block it rather than being sorry and being painful for your financial results. This is actually the default configuration file of Kamailio. I just took the snippets from here. You can enable with AntiFlood directive. It's about Pike and hash table. Hash table is actually caching the IP addresses that are blocked, and Pike is counting the number of requests per second from an IP address. So Pike is like our alerting, and then hash table it's used to block. So the check is actually, if it's blocked, then keep it blocked. Otherwise, let's see if Pike now detects it is an attack from that address. And as it is quite common out there, everyone is running, we have the extra check on friendly scanner, but you can extend it with other SIP-C, SIP-P, SIP-SEC very easily. There are different approaches. The example here is sending a reply, but a lot of people just remove that line and drop the packet so you don't send anything back. Because otherwise, if you send a reply, you signal there is actually a SIP application there. You can replace Pike, which is designed for IP addresses, IPv4, IPv6, with pipe limit module. Pipe doesn't have the concept of source IP as an address, but you can use any kind of identifier for the traffic, like from address, whatsoever you have in the context of that call. This could you can use it like making limits per user, no matter of source IP address. So if there are many Daniels around the world trying to connect as Daniel, still they have to be under a limit. And again, it's about either dropping, but you can replace it with some alerts. We have many meanings in Kamailio to rise a role. Another thing that I presented is block too many failed authentication. Again, we rely on hash table to count how many failed authentication happened in a row. When we have a successful one, then we reset the counter. Otherwise, when we get to a limit, here I use 10, but you can change it as you need, and we block it for 15 minutes. So many other systems are using it, including the bank. If you put the password a couple of times, they say come back in 5 minutes or in 10 minutes. And if you keep insisting at some point with the wrong password, they say contact the branch to reset your PIN. So this is practically replacing the route out from the Kamailio default config file with some extra checks. So this part would be about checking the number of failed authentication, blocking, and if it's not blocked, try to authenticate again. And if it's failing, so this block will be failing as soon as we get to 10 times, we will block it. Of course, we need to keep here, it's the time of the authentication attempt to be able to release it after 900 seconds, 15 minutes. Restricting the number of active calls, we have dialog, which you can use. It's about loading the number of active calls you want to allow. You can do it from the database, or you can have it like a static value. I put it in a variable, but practically what matters is this comparison with some value. So practically dialog tracks active calls, and then you can sort them or put them in categories. We call them profiles, and then you can count how many calls are in that profile. The number of profile is as many as you need, and you can use like caller ID. Here it's username and domain of the caller to create a profile. This is a higher level category. And then practically you get the size of that profile, the number of calls in that profile, and then we check it. If we have more than we allow, then we reject the call. Otherwise, practically here, we manage the dialog and we set the profile for that call. So if it's a new call, it will get into the same profile and maybe will get blocked next time. I actually wanted to have, maybe even for dangerous demo, a combination of couple of interesting tools we have right now, like Lua and MongoDB, because again, you can come back to kind of big data approach. So you can use Mongo to store their information about the database, then you can use Lua as a more flexible scripting to take a decision when to block, when to allow, when to alert. as maybe you don't like that much Kamailio config file as I like. I didn't finish it, but will be out there as a tutorial, as we publish, and typically with the new versions, we publish these tutorials. However, what I was using so far, actually, to build this kind of system was Kamailio and in-memory MySQL tables, because they are also very fast. And again, it's about storing and then having a meaning of querying and making reports out of that. MySQL in memory, it's quite fast. With the proper index, you don't have troubles. If you look at the events you have for a call, practically you have a new call, which is the initial invite. Then the call is not answered, so this 300 or higher reply code. Then we have call it's answered also as an important event that can happen for a call, and call it's terminated. So these are the possibilities you can get with a call. And practically in Kamailio config file, you can easily identify where these events can happen and just use SQL ops to write the data into the your caching. In this case, will be MySQL, and I think it's easier to understand by everyone here. There are a couple of additional tools we are using here. We are using CFG Locks module for locking. So when you have concurrency, you don't insert many records for the same user. You wait for counting them, checking the limit, then you insert it, and then another call from the same user can come. Because it's not a single lock, it's a kind of a lock per user. We use authentication username as identifier for the lock. But anyhow, it's about inserting into the active calls. I took an example, call ID, init time, state, caller, call address, and username. Username, because many are using authentication username different than caller ID. You see here we run AC limit before inserting, and actually that's about running some SQL queries. In this case, it's a simple query to see if it's another active call, and if it is, we block the new one. Otherwise, you can do all these kind of queries into a MySQL, like if in the past 3 hours were, I don't know how many calls higher than a limit, another alert. So this one, it's quite fast and flexible. You know, a lot of people in telecom are quite friendly with the SQL. Then you have these states that you may want to update, like, okay, putting into ringing, but this is just updating a record. When it's answered, we also set the start time, so we know how long it takes for other measurements or other alerts. To billing, it's actually when it's like finished and it's ready to bill, the case of the buy. Canceled, practically, we change the state, so we don't really need to count it as an active call anymore. And actually what I have here, and it's another tool behind it, it's cleaning the history. So we have these states, it is active, then we don't allow more. It is canceled, we don't count it, but still we need to look in the history of past day or past 2 days. And we have this rtimer module where you can use to delete after a while all these old records. So more or less will be the same for what I wanted to do with Lua and Mongo. Mongo is also storing JSON, so that will make it easier to fetch it in a web application and look at what's inside it. We have quite good resources out there, a couple of tutorials hosted in our wiki, hosted also on the knowledge base from Asipto, the company I'm working for. SIP security book was actually written by some guys deep involved in SIP Express router back in the time, Jiri, Dorham, and John Floroyu. It's still a good read to understand. It's old now, but then again, all these resources where you can contribute yourself. So that's from myself about this. Again, with security, you can do a lot, and I expect to have a tutorial to put all this together and more up-to-date out there as we have the new release. Before taking the questions and trying to close the event, as I was asked before, important URLs for the event. We always upload the presentation, like PDFs, what we received, to www.kamailio.org/events. You see there the history we have also with past events, probably by now, I don't know, 20, 30 at least. And the videos recording, again, thanks to Matthias, which was kind enough to sponsor and take the time to record all those interesting presentation. We hope to have it very soon on Kamailio channel on YouTube. I hope this is the right URL. Otherwise, just search for this channel. You'll see from the past year right now, and we'll get this year rather soon. The last shout out for our sponsors with financial support, with infrastructure and everything around. Thank you, a big thank you for helping. And yeah, this would be the last slide, reminding that next year we hope to have something special. You know, the bridge, it's a long way, 15 years, and now looks calm, but in the history of the projects, you know, in the sea or ocean could be big storms, and we had it. Now we are happy that, you know, looks calm. We focus on development, and I hope everyone is pleased. Thank you for coming. That's my presentation. Questions?
I just wanted to tell people, especially those of you who participated in the dangerous demos, that since it takes time to put these things online, I did film them on Meerkat. You know, that's a horrible quality, a vertical video, but you can get them on @VoIP users on Twitter, or look in the collection on Google+. Called, oh God, I don't know what it's called, but you'll find it. And you can see, if you're anxious to see your own presentation, or if anybody really wants to see, I don't know, for example, Mira's presentation, the dangerous demos are available there temporarily. And then the guys will probably work all night for 3 days to get them the real good quality stuff up. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Questions about security? Kamailio. I think all is sorted out with the tutorials.
One question.
Yeah.
I have a question about TLS. So there is this feature called TLS session resumption. Have you heard of a case of it being used with Kamailio?
No, there were a couple of issues, and I remember we had to disable renegotiation of SIPers with TLS because could be exploited. I'm glad that Ole is keeping an eye on security with us, and it's always pushing to be strong on that. About TLS right now, it was quite a bit of work, and I think Carsten contributed this latest SIPers. Support. Maybe it was not big, but still taking time. I was looking also at getting the latest version being the default ones, because now even TLS 1.0, it's not that secure. But yes, the answer would be no. TLS as a protocol has its own exploits, and we need always to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I'm not aware either on session resumption with Kamailio, but it's a feature in the TLS library, so we need to look into that and look forward to your code and testing. More questions? I'm not going to assign topics to all of you that ask questions.
Okay.
When do we see 4.3, Daniel? We've been waiting.
Okay. Yeah. Probably in maximum 2 weeks before the mid of June. Testing it's going well. For those that don't know about how we test Kamailio for quite a long time, couple of services out there like Best Effort are running already. The latest Kamailio version, including this VoIPuser.org, which unfortunately doesn't have the website for a long time. OpenRCS.com was always using the development version, and we stress tested as well with some tools we have available. So I expect in 2 weeks, Victor left, but he already completed the job for packaging Debian for 4.3 and actually made a request to upload it even as a release candidate to the experimental in Debian. We still some work on RPMs, some tunings with the installation tools. Be sure we have the right tutorial for upgrade. But in terms of code, I think we are pretty stable at this moment. Another important thing is that the main components, core, TM, including TLS, they are not really big changes there. Some changes to the user lock, as we wanted to make it a bit more flexible with this caching system. But otherwise, yes, there are new modules. If they have bugs, we'll discover along the way. But upgrading an older version should be quite stable.
Okay, no more questions. Then I would like to say a huge thank you to our project leader, Daniel, for all his work with Kamailio, and for, together with Ramona, setting up Kamailio World, which has been a great conference for us all. A big applause to Daniel.
Many thanks also for coming here again. We are more like a community again organizing this event. Always waiting for suggestions. We try to adopt them as much as we can, but please be open, send us what was good, what was wrong with this, and what can be better, of course. We don't mind really. We hope to make it as easy as possible for everyone. It's really helping the project to be here and show that you support, and then you can actually use it as a reference as well when you do services or other products with it. And I would like to thank to everyone, especially the attendees. Then again, speakers are really important, and exhibitors, sponsors, hosters of this event. Everyone contributed really to the, because if we have good speakers and not good questions, doesn't really look good as well. So the quality of the attendees is actually very important, and I hope to keep it in the same layer of good engineers, good technical and professionals around.
I wanted to have the last word. And on that bombshell, thank you, Daniel, and everybody else. And in particular, thank you to Matthias and his team. You forgot Matthias and his team and his gaffer tape, without which we would not be able to see all the proceedings later.
Yeah.
So it's safe journey home, everyone, I guess, and looking forward to 2016. 2016.
Thank you, everyone.